All right, let's dive into the high-stakes world of industrial safety. We're going to talk about the invisible forces inside massive industrial plants and the absolutely brilliant systems that engineers design to keep them from, well, failing catastrophically. Let's get right into it.
I mean, it's a pretty intense question, right? But it really cuts to the chase. You've got these massive facilities, buzzing with immense energy, handling volatile materials under extreme pressure. So what's the actual line of defense? What's standing between a totally normal day and a complete disaster? You know, to really get a handle on this, think about a pressure cooker in your kitchen. It builds up a little steam, cooks your food faster. Simple. Now imagine that, but scaled up 1,000 times over. An industrial reactor is dealing with pressures that are so complex and, if they get out of control, just unbelievably dangerous. The basic physics might be similar, but the scale of the risk, it's a whole different universe.
So the main villain in this whole story is a thing called overpressure. And yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. The pressure inside a tank or a pipe just gets too high, way beyond its design limit, and it starts pushing on the metal walls, threatening to just tear them apart. This is the one thing engineers absolutely have to prevent.
And this is the rule book, API 521. It's a global standard, kind of the Bible for this stuff. It's not just some textbook, it's the official playbook that engineers have to follow. It tells them exactly how to figure out what could cause overpressure and then how to design the systems to handle it safely. You can think of it as decades of industrial wisdom, all focused on stopping that worst-case scenario. So, here's how we're going to break it all down. We've talked about the threat. Now we'll dig into what actually causes overpressure. Then we'll check out the engineer's toolkit for fighting it, understand a really key design idea called single jeopardy, and finally, see how they get rid of the danger safely.
Okay, so if you're going to design a solution, you first have to know every single thing that could possibly go wrong. And API 521 gives engineers a huge catalog of all these potential failures.
And the variety of problems is just mind-boggling. I mean, a blocked outlet is easy enough to picture. It's like putting your thumb over a garden hose, right? But engineers also have to plan for a total plant-wide power outage where all the cooling systems just stop. Or what if a tube ruptures inside a heat exchanger, and maybe one of the scariest ones is an external fire, which can literally boil the liquid inside a tank and cause the pressure to just skyrocket.
And check out this quote from the standard itself. It shows just how fast things can spiral out of control. It's talking about a superheat limit explosion. This is where a liquid doesn't just boil, it flashes into vapor. Instantly. We're talking microseconds. The standard says the time frame is analogous to a detonation. Think about that. It's basically an explosion. This is why just reacting isn't enough. You have to have systems in place ready for the worst.
So, staring down all those threats, what do you actually build to protect a plant? Let's get into the hardware. This is the Safety System Toolkit, the layers of defense. First up, and this is the big one, is the Pressure Relief Device, or PRD. At its heart, it's a super reliable, totally mechanical valve. A spring holds it shut. When the pressure gets too high, it physically shoves that valve open. No electronics needed. But picking the right one is a science. Engineers calculate the flow needed, and then they pick a standard size from API 526, say a J orifice, using its effective area. But here's the cool part. The valve the manufacturer actually sends has a slightly larger actual area. It's a built-in safety factor, a little extra breathing room, which is absolutely critical.
But where does all that high-pressure gas go? You can't just dump it out into the middle of the plant. Nope. It gets collected in this huge network of pipes called a flare header. This thing is like an expressway for hazardous gas, gathering it from all the different relief valves and routing it to one safe place for disposal.
Now, before that gas gets to its final destination, it makes a pit stop at the knockout drum. The job here is simple, but it is so important. It separates any liquid droplets out of the gas. You only want pure vapor going to the next step. So this huge vessel just slows the flow way down, and gravity does the rest, letting the liquid drop right out. And that brings us to the most famous part of the whole system, the flare tip. It sits way up high on a stack, and it's basically a highly engineered, super efficient burner. It takes those dangerous gases, mixes them with air and steam, and ensures they burn cleanly and completely. It's all about converting harmful stuff into much less harmful stuff, like CO2 and water.
Okay, we've seen the hardware, but now let's talk about the philosophy, the thinking behind how it all gets put together. This isn't about hoping for the best, it's about planning, specifically for failure. And that brings us to the principle of single jeopardy.
So here's the core idea, and it's really crucial.
Engineers design the entire safety system to handle any one credible thing going wrong at a time. So, a power outage? The system can handle it. A blocked pipe? The system can handle it. What the system is not designed for is two completely unrelated things happening at the exact same moment, like a power outage and a massive fire. That's what they call double jeopardy.
And the API 521 standard says it right there in black and white. So why, you might ask? Why not plan for everything? Well, trying to design a system that could handle every possible combination of unrelated disasters would be almost infinitely complex and just not practical. The single jeopardy rule provides a really robust and realistic level of safety by focusing on the most likely single points of failure. So, we've looked at the causes, we've seen the tools, and we get the philosophy. Let's wrap it up with that final, critical step, making sure the danger is gone for good. Sizing all this equipment is an incredibly precise science. It's not guesswork. Engineers rely on complex data, like what you see in this chart here. This tells them exactly how much a liquid will expand when it flashes into a gas. That's the heat of vaporization. Getting this right is everything. This calculation determines the size of the relief valve, the diameter of the pipes, and crucially, the pressure-temperature rating of the flanges connecting it all together. That tells you if you need, say, a 150-pound flange or a much beefier 300-pound flange to handle the forces during an emergency.
And all of that math, all of that detailed engineering, it all leads to this, the flare stack. People often see a flare and think it's pollution, but really it's the exact opposite. It's a sign that the safety system is doing its job perfectly, taking something that could be explosive and turning it into a controlled, safe flame. It's the plant's final guardian, visible for all to see.
So that's a look at how engineers use standards like API 521 to keep us all safe. But it does leave you with a pretty interesting question, doesn't it? As our technology gets more and more advanced, as we create new industrial processes, the risks are going to change too. The folks who write these standards are in a constant race to predict dangers that haven't even happened yet. You have to wonder, what's next? What will they have to plan for tomorrow?